Hope everyone's doing well today. I think people are still jumping on, but very excited to have my brother from another mother, Tony Fletcher, on. Tony's going to be talking about the secrets that you can all leverage to build a profitable real estate team, build a team in the industry. And what I love about this topic and what he's going to talk about is really two things. One, we all know that building teams is a big part of the real estate industry. And two, I see so many teams or team leaders rather kind of build this the wrong way. They don't focus on profitability. They look at the wrong metrics. For instance, like simply just looking at how many team members they have, as opposed to how productive are the team members. So obviously we want to have a lot of team members, but we also want to build it a profitable way. Because when you go from a solo agent up to a team leader, guess what happens? Your profitability per transaction naturally goes down and your bandwidth goes down. The time you spend working with your team members, training them, holding them accountable, all of those things are real. And making sure that you build it in a way that keeps profitability top of mind is really, really important. And I'm glad that Tony's going to talk about it. So if you are live in the webinar and you have any questions, or if you're in one of the watch parties, I know some of our offices have watch parties around the country. Um, your room moderator can text me their questions, or you can throw it into the Q&A section, and we'll make sure we get those questions answered. And then if we have time here at the end, we will also open it up for Q&A. With that said, Tony, how you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for sharing time with us. I don't know where everybody is. Normally, there's a lot more people on, but I'm sure they'll be trickling in. And this is recorded as well and will be put onto the membership area, both in Suite Assist and in a collective coaching group. With that said, Tony, I'll let you take it away. I'll turn off my camera so they can just see your beautiful face, and I'll be in the background.
Awesome. I had a great PowerPoint. AI did all the cool stuff, and then I deleted it before I saved it. So
You did it wrong, dude.
I did it wrong. I did it wrong. I was going to be so cool and have all that, and I didn't have it. So, but I appreciate you having me on, Sam. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm the owner of the Big Block franchise in Orange County. And over my 37 years of business, I've got to consult with a ton of teams. And, you know, being able to look at different people's business has always been I love looking at people's business because there's so many ways to do business um, in real estate that there's just everybody does it differently. And so when I started really consulting with teams, one of the things I found out was um, they might look okay from the outside, but almost every single team that I've ever consulted with has been a complete mess. And the reason why is as Sam said, they build them backwards. So this is for if you already have a team, if you want to build a team, or if you're thinking about joining a team. These are all things that I'm going to talk about that you can think about in and how it would affect you and your team or joining a team. So, first place is, where do you start, right? So you're an awesome agent, you sell tons of homes, and you're like, I don't want to just keep grinding it, just being the only guy here, and you're kind of on an island, and that's just kind of how it is. So you say, I'm going to build a team, and that always brings us to what happens is every team that I've ever talked to, when I first meet with them, it is a complete revolving door. And there's a lot of reasons for the revolving door, but it's actually pretty easy fix. So when people want to build a team, what they always do is say, I'm going to hire 47 buyers agents. And they go out and start doing that, and they get five or six or seven or whatever they got going. And next thing you know, it's a mess. And I would meet with them and they would ask me, what's the issue here? I go, well, you started a team because you're an awesome salesperson and was able to create tons of business. And so you needed more people to facilitate that business. And what they did was they took themselves from being a tremendous real estate agent, a great salesperson, and they turned themselves into a manager, which, most of us that have run our businesses, we're not really good managers. We're great salespeople. And so there's no support, there's no process. It's just you throwing stuff against the wall and kind of seeing what sticks. So as you start to build a team, you've really got to look at it and you've got to make it out. It's got to be an investment, right? You're already a great agent. You could continue to do that and be totally fine and make lots of money and never have an issue. But if you really want to start to build a business that is scalable, you can monetize it beyond just the commissions that come into it. You've got to start with some admin people. And number one admin person is you have to have a TC. And I think that even I'm the broker of record, and I have agents that are doing their own transactions, and I can tell you 100% of the time it's a complete mess. And unfortunately, that's just that's the value that they see in it. That I can just it's $495, and I'm not gonna spend that money. But that's not what we're here for, right? We are here to sell properties, and if you're saying I'd rather do a job that pays $495 versus go sell another house that pays me 20, 30, 40, $50,000. You just got it backwards. And so many people start teams with buyer's agents and they don't really have a good TC. And the kind of TC you need is the kind of TC where you're going to write an RPA or an RLA, hand it to them, and they take it over. And the only time you're going to really get involved is if there's an issue. And they're going to let you know if there's an issue. So that's your first person. No buyer's agents. I know you want to. I know you want to get out there and just, hire a bunch of buyer's agents. Don't do it. Make sure your TC is tight. Then your next hire, and this is the absolute person that will drive your growth forever and will eventually get you out of the business, is your operations person. You've got to have the best operations person you can find. And whether that's on a salary, whether that's on a percentage basis, whatever that person is, this is the person that does all the things that you hate to do. Okay. And I think that you have to spend some time sitting down and figuring out, what am I good at? What do I like to do? And what do I don't like to do? And you need to figure those things out. You need to find somebody that will come in and do that. And then you've got to, when you bring them in, you have to train them. Okay. I've been with teams. They have all these people in place. And then I always ask, hey, can I meet with your admin people? And they always say, oh, of course, of course. We're tight. We got processes and systems, and we're ready to roll. Meet with the admin person. They have no clue. They're running around putting out every fire that all of you team leaders make, right? I call it, you're kind of a seagull. You go in, you go, and you leave, right?
Tony, I love that. I just want to add something, and you gave me permission to jump in, so I'm
Yes,
not
please.
trying to be rude here.
No.
What I love about this is you make a very strong point, and I want to just kind of put some numbers behind it to help color this in for everybody. If our goal is, I'm just going to use simple numbers, if our goal is to work 40 hours a week and make $1 million a year, that means we need to make right around $520 per hour that we work. So when you are playing admin and you're spending your time on $20 an hour tasks or $30 an hour tasks, it becomes a lot harder to maximize your per hour earnings. So we have to think like, if I can have someone do the things that I don't want to do, the things I'm not good at doing, and or the things that are making me less than my per hour goal, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And once that hour's gone, you never get it back. And ultimately, what that does is it makes every other hour you have left, it makes that hour become more important in terms of how much you make per hour. So, although you think you're saving money or you think you're better at it than other people, remember that the hard work and the simple work and everything in between needs to get done. Doesn't mean that you have to do it, so you can focus on your superpower, which is helping the team produce more, bring in more deals, and be a rainmaker. Thank you for that, Tony.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, your first stop is really those two positions. You've got to get those two positions down. Now, on your ops person, you have a way of doing things, and everybody's going to be a little bit different. So one of the things that I like to do is I want someone, either the person you just hired or somebody else, that follow you around for 2 3 days and document on video everything you do, how you do things, how you make calls, what your expectations are, just kind of how your business works. And this could take 2 days, 3, it could take a week, but you've got to document it, start to build a video library of this is how team A, this is how we do things, right? Everything we do is really the way that you do them, because you don't want to have a business that is not your business, right? The ops person is going to come in and they're going to build a system and a process for all the things you do, but they need to know what you do. Because a lot of times as team leaders, I will meet with team leaders and I'll ask them, well, does the team know this? I don't know. Have you told them? I don't know. And so many times we have expectations in our heads that we never communicate to either our leadership or to the agents that are working with us. And so they spend their day kind of wondering, is this what they want? And we just need to have more expectations. And that's why having an operations person will help fill that in for you. Because again, I would say as salespeople, that is not our strong suit, right? Paperwork should not be our strong suit, and nor is sitting down and giving a full set of expectations of what we think the team's going to be. So we have to document that. And that way, if you ever replace somebody, boom, you've got the document library, you've got the video library. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to, here you go. Your training is set for as long as you need it to be. And if something changes, you just re-video it, put it in your library, and you have it forever. So I think that's something that you've got to do. And then I would say the next thing is on the revolving door side is, and this is always a sore point, right? It's comp. Um, and I would just tell you to pretend like you're an agent coming onto your team. Find out what the average transaction amount is, and then do the math. And if your math works, great. But it usually doesn't. And team leaders come to me and say, I need you to bring me more people. I go, well, what happened to the ones we already brought you? Oh, they left. And they always leave for one reason: money. You bring them in, you do a 50-50, you give them a lead, but what you don't factor into it is your brokerage. Now, luckily at Big Block, we don't really have that problem because it's $3,000 and that's your whole year and you're good to go. But most brokerages, if it's a $20,000 commission, the team takes 10, your agent gets 10, but then the brokerage takes out all of their splits until they end up with like $3,000-4,000. And I have met with countless, I can't even tell, hundreds of agents that are on teams. They get their first paycheck and I get a call. They're like, I did everything. I did all the work and I got $3,000. And they may not tell you as a team leader, they may not tell anybody on your leadership team, but they will tell somebody. And so you've got to make sure you figure out what your comp is. And we just had a guy join our team from Big Zillow guy. And so, of course, again, I'm kind of a real estate nerd. So I sat down with him and went through his business and, how do you do this and how do you do that and his comp. And so we got to the comp. He's like, we take 15%. And I will tell you, out of the hundreds of teams that I've talked to, that is the best comp plan I've ever seen. And he does Zillow leads and he pays for everything. And I've seen Zillow Flex teams that charge their agents for the Zillow Flex and the split, and they end up like 15%. So take a really good look at your comp plan and really sit down and do that math, because I think that is probably the biggest deterrent from keeping people on your team. Because listen, people want to be on a team, right? They like being on a team. Team leaders, you're building a team, so a lot of times you're going to get underperforming agents. People are looking for something to belong to. People that just want some camaraderie. You have them, right? They want to be a part of it, and then when they finally get paid, they get paid so little that it's not worth their time. So you have to make sure that your comp plan is fair. And I think some of the best ones I've seen is kind of either a just start out with a low, a good amount, like this guy was 15%, or do a tiered plan. So you keep them, because it's one thing to get them in. And I will tell you, as a recruiter, the name of the game is not in the front door, but it's the back door. So if you get them in, get them on the team, you train them, spend some time with them, the last thing you do is want to lose them. So the number one reason they leave is for comp. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. Do you have anything on comp, Sam?
No, I think you make a good point, and it's just a double-edged sword, right? Because you want to make sure that you have the right comp to keep their head from being on a swivel, so to speak. And you also want to make sure that your comp is enough for you to keep the lights on. So it's a balancing act. And until you really look at your numbers on both sides, a lot of people just kind of take a blind shot at it and say, I'm going to run a team at this split before they factored out. If Zillow is taking 40%, your broker is taking, let's say, 15%, you're giving your team 30% or 40%, you're left with peanuts. And then the question becomes, would you be better off just hiring more admin and doing more deals yourself? But then on the other side of it, you don't want to build up team members and then invest all the time and have them leave. So it's a very good point.
Yeah, and I think that's something you touched on right there. Is my next point was going to be, figure out what your team's going to look like. Like, I've met a lot of people that they want to have this team of 25, 30, 40 agents. And really what they need is about 5 or 6 really good admin people so they can do more business. They're really good at attracting business, or they have a great database, or whatever their thing is, and they just don't have the backup to do that, and they've never had it. And I just can't tell you how many people that I've met with that have really good businesses, and if they had a 1 or 2 good admin people, they could double or triple their business. As a single agent, you're really, 30 to 40 transactions a year is a lot, right? For one person. One person and an admin, you're to 100 easy. But add that second admin person, man, you're really cooking. You can really go far without even adding anybody. And I think that's, you know, a lot of people start teams because they want to kind of step back a little bit and maybe just kind of drive it, but not necessarily do all the work involved, which is great. I mean, that's your prerogative. But if you don't set it up correctly, you're going to end up doing so much more work than you ever wanted to do, that it will not be worth it. I have people, I don't want a team anymore. I'm done. I'm done. I meet people all the time. There's like, I can't do it anymore. And so you just got to find the type of team that works for you. I would also ask you, as a team leader or potential team leader, is like, take a few minutes to just put your ego aside. Okay, this is not about ego. This is about making money, making sure that other people make money, and helping people buy and sell homes, right? It's not rocket science. We're not curing cancer. We're not doing anything like that at all. This is simply helping people buy and sell real estate. So let's not overcomplicate it, and let's not make it more than it really is. But you've got to figure out what kind of team setup works for you, because everybody has a different setup. I've had teams where they really focus on farming and open houses, and they do super good with that. And if they start doing online leads, it just doesn't work. So find your niche, find the kind of team you're going to have, whether it's you and a bunch of admins, or you, a couple of admins and some people, and then go to your brokerage, right? If your brokerage is not helping you build that team, that's a big pain point, is the recruiting piece. And, again, having been in a position of recruiting, team leaders come to me and say, where do I get these people? I'm like, I don't know. You're in transactions with lots of other teams. Start there. But I think the number one place to start is with really your brokerage, because they should be helping you build the team, because it not only does it help you, but it helps the brokerage. So start there, and don't be afraid to ask your brokerage to help you recruit people to your team. Now, admin people, that's different. So what I would do on admin people is, most of you guys know good TCs, but use a TC. But on the admin people, I would go to your other teams that you know in the market that you're in, and find out who those admin people are and start to talk to them. Because, like I'm sitting here telling you, having been able to meet with lots and lots and lots of teams, they might look great on the outside. And I'm talking about teams, I've met with teams that are nationwide, the same stuff, right? They all have issues inside. And that's how you recruit, right? You offer them a grass is greener philosophy, and you show them that you have your stuff together, so that they don't feel like they can get away from the issues that they currently have. Because, again, every single team that I ever meet with has a revolving door, and it's either there's no support, there's no training, or you guys don't pay enough. And those are really, again, not trying to overcomplicate things. Those are really the three things that will hold you back from building your team out. Now, if you're looking to join a team, I would tell you the same thing. You want to look at what's the comp, what's your training look like, and what's the support look like. Those are the three things that are going to be most important to you. And again, if you get on a team, take their value, take their training, do what they ask you to do, and I think you're going to have a much better time of it as well. Because I get people that teams will drag people in, and that's not necessarily the best way. I think it's more important that you guys have less team members that are a good fit, and let the ones go that are not a good fit, or that are underperforming, or that, say, if you're buying leads and they're not closing the leads, you're wasting time and money, and you're also wasting your admin's time and money. So let's try to find a better fit, and that's where I think your brokerage can be super helpful as far as making a better connection for you and your team, right? So you can continue to do what you do best, which is bring in business, and don't get bogged down in admin, TC, recruiting, unless you want to, right? It's Let your brokerage do what they're there to do, which is support you. Then the next item I had on my list is, what is your job as a team leader? It's important that you need to figure that out. If I sit down with you and you ask me, well, my team's a mess, what do I do? I'm going to ask you, what's your job? What is your role in your community? You have a team? Do you have a role? Or do you just run around and just do whatever you want and just make everybody's life miserable? Because a lot of team leaders are like parents, right? They run around and they're all over the kids, and just, really making life miserable for them. So it's important for you to carve out your role and know that stuff up front. And I know these are things that we don't often do. And that's why you have people like Sam and you have people like myself. You can go meet with us and sit down and let's go over what your team structure looks like. Let us give you some honest feedback about what it all looks like. Because again, whether it's comp, whether it's people, whether it's recruiting, whatever those things are, it's it's nice to have an outside eye looking at it that will give you an honest answer. Because sometimes as team leaders, we will not give ourselves honest answers. We get a guy on the team, we really like them, we give them leads, and they never convert. But we continue to keep them. We never get anything. We like these people. That doesn't do you any good. It's the point where you start to run your business like an actual business. Most of my teams that I've met with, none of them have a P&L. They don't know how much they know. I spend $1,500 a month on leads. But when we sit down and we really write down all the numbers, it's way more. And like Sam said, were you making 300,000? Were you making, a ton of money? And then all of a sudden you think you're making a ton of money, but you're really just spending it now. I can't tell you how many agents that I've sat down with and they don't have a P&L and they don't, even if we just do it, just really basically, you got to kind of know where your numbers are because it'll cost you and it's not worth your time because you're already a good salesperson, right? You're already a good real estate agent. You know how to make money. You want to do something different. You want to expand a little bit. That's great. But if you don't know where everything is, sit down with your leadership team at your brokerage and let them help you kind of figure this stuff out so that later on, the whole goal of this is to have a business that is worth selling or worth monetizing. And that would really kind of be my final point, is how do I monetize my business? Well, I would say, first of all, we're sitting with a guy that would be very helpful about valuing the business, Sam. And I've done a ton of valuations as well. But at some point, if you do this correctly and you have all your pieces in place, you're going to have a business that's worth selling. You don't have to be a part of this business for it to continue to work, right? As you move forward in the business and you build your levels correctly so that you have your admins and you have your buyer's agents, and then you start to have, listing agents and just buyer's agents, you'll have a little company that you'll hopefully be able to sell. The next thing you need to know is what's the valuation? What are my options on that? But you've got to do some of these things first so that you can understand what the value is. Did you have something to add, Sam?
No, I mean, if there's any questions about valuating teams and companies, I'm happy to jump in. But I think what Tony's saying here is really important. When you run a team, you are, even if you're a solo agent, you really are a business within a business. And any good business knows their numbers, tracks their numbers, knows their cost per lead, their cost per acquisition, their cost per closing, knows their true net. And they're always working on fine tuning that. Something that I always say when I'm consulting with teams or with agents is you have to know your numbers so that you make sure you're maximizing your profitability per deal. Easy way to look at this is a lot of people, individual agents or teams, think that the answer for growth is simply more leads. Where I know people like Tony and I think quite opposite. My first question is, well, what percentage of your leads are being converted? If you're converting, let's say 2%, which is almost the national average for online leads, but then there's other teams that are closing 6%. Do you have a lead problem or do you have a lead conversion problem? You have a lead conversion problem. You'd be so much more profitable if you were closing 6 out of 100 leads versus 2 out of 100 leads. You're spending the same amount of money on the 100 leads. But when you close 6% instead of 2%, you've tripled your income with the same amount of spend. So it's really important to look at all these key metrics because at the end of the day, when Tony talks about having a sellable business, all of that ultimately comes down to what is left over, what they call EBITDA. What is your net income? Your net income inside of the team. And then you get a multiple of that net income. So if there's only $100,000 net income, you're going to get a much smaller multiple, meaning your net times a number, than if you have $1 million of net income. And the most important metric there is tracking your numbers, knowing your conversion, and making sure that it's a little side note, but you want to make sure that you're at a company that allows you to sell your team, because you're going to spend all this time building this up. And then if you find yourself, at a company that doesn't allow you to sell your team, now you're missing a big part of the upside when one day you decide to retire or have someone step in for you. So it's really important to start with the end in mind and pay attention to all the fine little details moving backwards to the front.
Yeah. And the other thing too that I wanted to kind of give something to the people that are just solo agents too. I hear a lot of, how do I compete with the team? So you have a team, you just may not know it. You have TC, you have your lender, you have your title people, and anybody else that supports you at your brokerage. Could be a coach, could be a mentor. That's your team, right? So when you go on listing appointments and you go on buyer consultations, you have a team as well. You just have to kind of, you know, massage that a little bit so that it's make it real, right? Make that's my team, right? If you're a solo agent. And a lot of agents never want to be part of a team or build a team, and that's completely fine too. But all of this stuff that we're talking about for a team, it works exactly the same way. You do all the same things for your solo business. You're going to have, when this is all said and done, you're going to have an asset that you can monetize so that you do not have to do this until you're 80 years old, because you have all seen those agents out there that they make great money. And I know a ton of them. But the minute that they go on vacation, $0 come in. And my goal is to have none of my agents be that agent. I don't want you guys working until you're 80. I want you to build a business, and I'd like to help you do that. And Sam would do the same thing. That's kind of what we do. Like we want people to have something that's an asset that they can sell later on and actually have a retirement. Because that's why we got in this business. We want to learn, teach you guys how to invest and how to build a legacy of real estate investing. You're the front line. Nobody sees a deal before you do. So all these investors that are out there buying, they're buying from you. So we want to show you how to do all that stuff. But again, that's part of what this is. And I think aligning with the right people, making sure, and then maybe this is just a plug, and I don't want it to be a plug, but it is, but aligning with the right brokerage that can help you do that. Like our teams you would, with the exception of a little thing powered by Big Block in the bottom, our teams have complete, brand freedom. And, we got a ton of DBAs and ton of corporations and stuff. And it's your team. Build it your way, but make sure that your brokerage is aligned with you so that they can help you. That's what they're there for. And to me, that's what they're paying. Sam and our job is to save you time and money. That's what we're here to do. And we can do that. So use the leadership that is wherever you are right now, use that leadership to help you build the team in the way that you want it to be. Everybody has their own idea of what a team looks like, but we all have enough experience to help you do that. So allow us to do that so that later on, again, having the end in mind, have an end. Because I think a lot of agents have no end, there's no end in sight. And I hope that none of you are ever in that boat.
So true. And you might be at a brokerage that you love, and maybe they don't have that support, and that's okay. Remember that there's a lot of good coaches and consultants out there that can help you within your business. I consult a lot of teams and agents outside of our company. Uh, Sometimes I even consult my competitors, right? You want to make sure that you remember that anything you want to do in real estate as an agent or as a team, even as an investor, there's nothing that you want to do that hasn't been done before. And if you just find the right support, the right guidance, I call it a co-pilot. Having the right co-pilot that is supporting you, it makes your life so much easier. A lot of people say, well, why do you call it a co-pilot? And to me, a, a co-pilot wants the same end result as you. For example, when you get on a plane, you might have some weird feelings, right? About flying in the air, thousands of feet up. And you put your life ultimately in the pilot's hands. And why do you feel comfortable doing that? One, because they're skilled, they've been trained, they have a checklist, they know what they're doing, but ultimately they have the exact same desired outcome as you, which is get to your destination safely. And when you have a right person, consultant, mentor, coach in your corner that wants the same end result and knows how to get there because they've done it before and have helped other people get there before, you're going to save yourself a lot of pain, a lot of brain damage, and a lot of time.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree. I think, again, if anybody out there that's on this call, if you need help or if you're watching this recording and you want to reach out to either of us. We'd love to help you.
Tony, how do they get a hold of you?
Tony at bigbblockoc.com. Phone number is 714-809-0003. Call or text me anytime. Unfortunately, I'm an old school realtor, so I have zero boundaries, and you can probably get a hold of me pretty much anytime.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any questions for Tony before we wrap it up? If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in. In addition to that, if there's any topics that you would like us to address in future calls, as you've seen, we're bringing in people from all over the country, different companies, different skill sets. We have a pretty fat Rolodex. And if there's anything that you really want help with, let us know and we will make sure that we bring those trainings to you. If there's no questions, I guess we can wrap it up. Any final thoughts, Tony?
Don't be afraid to start a team. We got a lot of help out there for you.
Love it. Here's a question from Amanda. How do we show our agents our value? They come to our team, do really well at first, and then leave because they think they were successful because of themselves. Then they come back.
That's one of the first things you're going to do when you're going to sit down and write out your value prop. And you need to show and you need to kind of internalize that. And that's got to be yours and yours alone, because that does happen. It happens a lot. And if you're not, what I see is people join a team, they're quote on the team, and then you as team leaders, you leave them on an island and you don't communicate with them. The ones that leave, I promise you probably rarely talk to. I see it over and over and over and over. Your value proposition, you've got to keep that front and center all the time. So if you're doing trainings, don't start skipping them. Just do them. Even if nobody shows up, make sure if it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday, 10 o'clock on Tuesday, it's there no matter what. Don't give them an opportunity to say, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. Therefore, I don't feel like I should be paying you what I'm paying you. Because
Agreed.
they feel like they're paying you for a service. So you need to make sure that the items that you're part of your offering and your value proposition stay true. And if they change, you need to let everybody know, hey, we're not doing this anymore. Instead, we're doing this, and hopefully you make it better, not just to set your value prop from day one and never change it. Should always be evolving.
I love that. I have two things I'll add to that for you, Amanda. One is you always want to reset their thermostat. What I mean by that is they come to you, let's say they're doing 2, 3 deals a year. You get them to 10 deals a year. They think it's because of them. But what would really help them stay engaged is to reset the thermostat. We got you to 10. Now let's get you to 20. And then talk to them about that doubling their business, going from 10 to 20. What would that growth do for them? How will their life be changed? What goals do they have? You need to be an advocate of helping them continue to level up and continue to think bigger and continue to have new goals. So when they go from 3 to 10 and they start to think it's them, but you're there saying 10's good, but that's not good enough. We got more we got to do. I'm here to help you achieve more. And you keep resetting their thermostat so that there's always something else to get. Second thing is, this lady that I consult has one of the biggest teams in another state. And what we started to do, her average person on her team was doing about 26 deals a year. And they would get exactly what you said, a little too confident. They think that it's all them. They would leave. She would track the agent's business that left after they left, and almost always their production would go down. And that was part of her cadence in her training with her teams is just tracking people that left. I know it's a bit harsh, it's a bit abrasive, but when you shine light on that, then all of a sudden you start to address those unanswered questions. And then you can, exactly, Amanda, you can invite them back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a
Resetting
really,
the stat, tracking their numbers is important.
yeah, and inviting them back. And I think that's the other thing too, is that a lot of teams, if you're running a team and you have somebody that's doing really well, make sure that you highlight them. Make sure that you show them the love that they deserve and that they want from you. And the other thing too is to get rid of the ones that are not performing. There's far too many teams. They collect agents like it's a grocery bag, and I'm going to get the one. I'm going to get the one deal they do every 2 years. I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get 50%. And it's the wrong thinking. You want to be in a building thinking. So you want to be cutting your bottom 10% all the time, because the people that are winning will see the people that are losing. And if you're doing any highlighting or keeping of those people for any reason, they will take that as a weakness for the team. That makes them look bad, and they will end up leaving the team. So again, if you have people that are not performing, you got to cut them sooner than later.
100% agree. It's a tough thing to do,
It
but it's
is.
important because, like Tony said, uh, they're always looking at the weakest link and they're saying, well, if I'm doing 25 and Sam's doing 5 and Sam gets to miss, the meetings and he doesn't have the accountability, then why am I doing everything I'm doing? One. And two, if you're the rainmaker and you're supporting them with leads and with training, your business will go further supporting fewer, better people, right? You get to add more value. Looking at all that stuff really, really matters. And you got to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to lose agents. Tony and I run brokerages. We lose agents all the time. It's far from ideal. But a lot of them come back and you have to hug them on their way out. What a lot of team leads do and a lot of brokerages do that really mess them up is they make the agent feel bad for leaving. You want to hug them on the way out, let them know you're keeping their seat warm, continue to follow up. And then when they leave, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that one of my coaches gave me years ago. I used to just get all in my head when an agent would leave, especially if I had a good relationship with them. And he said, you have to remember, Sam, you don't own them. You only lease them for a period of time. And your job is to continue to add so much value that they want to renew their lease with you. But at some point, you got to get comfortable with the fact that they will leave and don't take it personal. Sometimes it is personal, like we drop the ball, or sometimes we give people so much. It happens to me almost all the time. The people I invest in the most, at some point, they end up leaving. And that's a them issue, not a you issue. You got to just keep your head on straight and keep going. Those are great questions, Amanda. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I think also too is as a team leader, and sometimes this is really hard to do. I mean, I used to be just terrible at it and ask for feedback. It's painful. A lot of times you don't want to hear it, you don't believe it, you want to say, nope, that's not how it is here. If they're telling you it is, it probably is. And so ask for the feedback. Ask for feedback for people that are leaving and people that have been there and see how it lines up. And you will find that a lot of times, if you just take that little bit of feedback and incorporate it into the team, and again, you're not doing all this, you're going to have an admin person implementing all the stuff because as salespeople, we're not implementers, we are doers. So let somebody else do it, but take that feedback, set the ego aside, and put it as a part of the team so you can make it better. And your team will be so much better off than taking a this is my team, I do it my way approach. You, it'll help you a lot.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully that added value. Amanda, I saw your thank you. You're welcome. We love adding value. If there's no other questions, we'll wrap it up. Tony, that was a great session. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And we will see you all next Tuesday at the same time. If there's anything we can do to help, let us know. Have a good week. Take care and goodbye.